This is the Forgiven Soldier radio show.
Strangers become your brothers. They got your six when it's back against that wall. And you will never have another who cared for you when times got rough. That's a brother. For you when times got tough, that's a brother.
And now, your host, Brian Basham.
Hi, welcome in the Forgiven Soldier radio show. I'm your host, Brian, and I have a special guest that I've known for, I would say, probably about 3 years. He's a competitor of mine in the ambassador world. He's not anymore. He's just run away with it now. But none other than Mr. Justin Merritt. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I had to concentrate so hard on to say Justin right then.
That's all good, dude.
But good friend of Josh Merritt. But
yeah, Josh
you're the only
great
Merritt
guy
I'm
too.
talking to right now. So
Yeah.
there we go. So yeah, tell the world who you are, man.
Well, I'm Justin Merritt. I recently switched jobs. I worked at Advanced Center for Orthopedic and Sports Medicine. Worked there for about 12 years. Local bred, so from Whitesville. Merritt Howard breed. So, but yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good intro.
Yeah, is that a thing? A Merritt Howard breed? That's what you say?
That's what I say. Yeah, well, only because like...
is there multiple sets of Merritts?
Oh, yeah. Well, and there's like the Howards are thick.
Yeah.
And so the Howards are thick in Knoxville, the Merritts are thick in Whitesville. And so when I say that, it almost kind of...
Gotcha.
Like, yeah.
So there's another category. So obviously my last name is Basham, so there's a lot of Bashams around here, but I'm not related to any of them.
Wow.
But you go to Breckinridge County and they say the same thing. We're the Bashams from Meade County. You know?
I got you.
So that's the thing.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So what got you into what got you into like physical therapy world? Like, did you play sports as a kid?
I did, but typically an injury will get you into this field, and thank the Lord, but I didn't have any injuries, and I was actually working at UPS out of high school, and I was just going to make a career out of that until I met my wife, who happened to have injuries, and she was in this field.
So okay,
yeah, and so if you haven't worked in UPS, it's just like, it's pretty labor intensive. Yeah. And my wife, she was like, well, why don't you just come shadow me and see what you think about it? And I went and shadowed her, and I thought, I can't believe people were paying money to do this, you know? And I thought right then, I was like, I'm going to go back to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And looking back, it's just, I probably would have adjusted some of the things I would have done. But yeah, that's what got me into therapy. And then I just... I love people. I'm an extrovert, so it's like, it just kind of a good fit for me.
Well, you've never met a stranger. I know, like, first time that I met you, I think was at an ambassador luncheon, and I mean, you were talking to me like you knew me for years.
Sure.
I was like, man, that's a great quality. Like, I wish, and I can talk to people and get to know them and stuff. It takes me a little bit longer to get there, and
sure.
But you got a good quality for sure.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And I think in just being, with my daughter and some of her minor injuries, just being involved with you guys and everything is kind of cool how you, I don't know, you just make them feel at ease.
Yeah.
Because it's an awkward state to be in.
It is. But I don't know. My mom even says the same thing, and she goes, she honestly doesn't know where I came from, right? Because I can just kind of walk up to Walmart and just talk to a random stranger and ask how their day's going.
And that's usually the place. Like you go to Walmart, you go in and grab something, and then you see a couple people and then
sure,
it just goes downhill from there.
Well, it's interesting too, because I think most people, like, if they see someone they know, they're like, they debate whether, like, do you want to have the conversation, because you're like,
do I have
that's
time?
right, that's exactly right, because you're like, oh man, I haven't seen them in a while, I know this conversation is going to take a while. And so, but yeah, it is interesting, because I think that a stranger is easier to talk to, because there's no history.
There's no history. There's no
right,
previous,
and it's really kind of like
unfinished. There's no previous unfinished business.
Exactly.
It's like,
exactly. Nothing to catch up to.
Exactly. Yeah. I get that because I went to school in Hancock County and then finished out in Breckinridge County. So then I moved away from the military and came back. So I was gone from 2000 until 2016. So 16 years went by, and I come back and I see somebody I went to high school with. Like, obviously we lost connection or whatever, but like you want to go talk to him, like, do I have really time to catch up? Like, because there's like a whole life that we don't know about,
essentially a whole life. Yeah.
So you got to pick and choose when you talk to people.
That's
like, hopefully they don't see me.
That's right. That's wild.
Yeah. So we got to talking. So you have an idea that I really want to. I want to hit on a little bit.
Okay.
I want to get people interested. The 5 people that watch us. I think they really be interested in hearing this. But we're going to step away for a break, and then we'll come back and we're going to dig into it. But you're listening to the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show on 90.3 WKWC.
John 15:13 says, "Greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends." Thank you for listening to the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show.
A kid from the Carolinas, always there to make you laugh. Needed a change of scenery, joined the army and never looked back. Met his wife and her daughter too, fell in love at first sight. Never knew he wanted a family till she came into his life. Life can throw you curves, you can swing and you'll miss. When you finally connect, just remember this: the path we walk is never the same. Oh, we're trying to get back to the way we came. We get turned around and lose our way. Oh, we're never lost, just in the wrong direction. Oh, we're never lost, just in the wrong direction. That's what he said. A man's true worth will grab your heart anytime he would speak. One of the greatest soldiers I've ever met, and I was lucky to ever meet. Life can throw you curves, you can swing and you'll miss. When you finally connect, just remember this: the path we walk is never the same. Oh, we're trying to get back to the way we came. We get turned around and lose our way. Oh, we're never lost, just in the wrong direction. Oh, we're never lost, just in the wrong direction. That's what he said. That's what he said.
The Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. Christ offers forgiveness for everyone, everywhere.
All right, welcome back into the Forgiven Soldier radio show. I have Justin Merritt in the studio. We're just talking about life, just talking about, and you're real big into the community, and I'm trying to make a mark, and I think, and you can share your thoughts, but I think the key of it is just being yourself, being real and
genuine,
and being genuine about local businesses. Like that's really true to my heart. And not that I won't go to McDonald's or I won't go to Lowe's and stuff, but I tend to gravitate more toward local. Yeah. So what is it about the community that kind of lights a fire in you? Because I see it, I see it in the posts that you do and everything.
Sure. Well, I think it's just I think I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and in being so, I try to be what I would want for me. Mm-hmm. And so, especially, the most small businesses, it's tough. I mean, they're putting in a ton of hours, and then the least I feel like I can do as a consumer is one, buy their product. And then if I can just give them a little bit of a shout out and something on my social media, it's like, hey, it's just like a breath of fresh air. It's like, hey, listen, there are people in the community that care beyond what you provide for them.
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of the Chamber of Commerce. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that they want the community to be seen and be heard, and I think that's why it's so good for the ambassadors to go out there and do it. Like, just be genuine and be passionate about your community and what you're living. Because I have kids. I have 2 girls growing up in the community that, and they might move away and do their own thing, but you eventually come back.
Right.
You always come back.
Sure.
And it took me 20 plus years, but I came back, and I'm glad I did, and
right.
And you have a couple of kids. How many kids you got?
I do have 6.
Oh,
I have 6. Yeah.
So are you done, or are you adding on? Are you going for 10?
Well, I tell my wife it's like lucky number 7,
Yeah.
But
what's she think?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know. This is what I tell people, especially working in patient care. When I say 6 kids, I get the same reaction. Yeah, so it's it's across the board. And I usually just say hey, it's not for everybody, you know, and I was built for it.
For sure.
Yeah. And so when I'm around,
well, you have to be.
I mean, you really.
You have to be.
Yeah. And I feel like Lord's really blessed me with a ton of patience, and I'm I'm really big about, hey, it's how I respond, right? Any stimulus, it's hey, I can control how I respond to it, And
but can you though? I'm going to set up a scenario. So you got, what's the ages of your kids?
10, 6, 4, 2, twins.
10, oh my gosh.
I know. Go ahead.
So, so I have a 14 and a 5-year-old, and they fight.
Sure. Like
they're a year apart, and that's where my patience kind of just loses is when the fighting goes on. It's okay, y'all need to just get along and go separate ways. And then wife gets stressed, and I'm oh my, just leave everybody out of the house. Yeah. Kind of thing. So what do you do in the situation where your kids are just crazy and they're fighting with each other?
What's good about it is that, being a more experienced parent, I can look back and what has worked in the past, right? Yeah. And so, for instance, this morning, same scenario, just like we were talking about. For the boys, were just, they didn't want to play. They, I needed to distract them. Yeah. And so I just built a bear cave for them. I got a couple mattresses off their beds, and I built it up, covered it up, and to actually play in that bear cave, they had to clean up, right? So it's not like I'm just going to build it for you and then just distract you. You have to earn that now. Yeah. And it's not just being good. Being good is that's a standard, for sure. Yeah. And so, but yeah, that happened this morning, and boom, and it was just quiet, and my wife was oh my gosh, I was hey, I gotta go. So yeah, I just set her up for a little.
Head out.
That's right. Yeah. And if I
they're in their cave.
That's right. They're in the bear cave. It's probably about 25, 30 minutes before it's okay, we got to do something different. So there is this churn of little boys.
Yeah, you don't have all day.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So
and you can't do it, all the time. You got to, like you said, you got to be awarded it. So that's good though. I did it with Addison, my oldest. I used to put the chairs and the blankets. And,
yeah, that's right.
And do a little fort for her, and she loved it. And I haven't done it with the little one. I guess because I got older, and it's hard to get down there now to do that stuff kind of thing. But
Yeah.
Maybe I'll bring that
You
back.
probably,
That's
really,
good, man.
yeah,
That's
just
good
give it
stuff.
a test run, and then you probably see her light up and be like, oh my gosh. Like,
Yeah.
Where's
Like,
this
my
been?
dad's cool.
Where's this?
Yeah, where's this been?
That's right. That's right.
And my oldest is like,
Yeah.
I remember that.
That's
I
right.
remember
That's
you doing
right.
that.
She'll
Yeah.
reminisce. She might even jump in there.
Yeah, she might. She might. Oh, she got worse knees and ankles than I do right now. But yeah, so that's. I mean, being a parent is, I think, one of the coolest things, most rewarding.
Sure. Sure.
And I don't know where you are religiously or whatever, but the thing for me is both of our kids go to a Christian school, and just seeing them come home and like quote scripture,
Sure.
it is like,
Sure.
that's the best. I have a little taste of what Jesus and God feels like when
Yeah.
like somebody quotes scripture and they're like, oh, they're getting it.
That's
they're
right.
getting it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I kind of feel that when they say it's like, they got it, you know, and just makes me feel good as a parent. And my wife will say the same thing is, you know, we're doing something right. Like
Sure.
we're setting up the path right, you know, and,
Yeah.
and,
It's just nice to hear the truth come out of them.
it is. Yeah. And not something they heard from school and,
Sure.
and all this stuff. And that's kind of how I was as a kid. Like I relied on my friends at school to tell me about life, you know,
Right,
and
right.
it didn't work out very well
Yeah.
for me. But,
I gotcha. I got a quick story.
Yeah, go ahead.
My wife, my wife, she prays quite a bit, and she prays for like little stuff that we need, you know, to where I'm kind of like big picture guy, you know, if I'm like praying, I'm like, hey, listen, there's like, you know, I know this won't happen for another 5 or 10 years. That's fine. You know, but, anyways, my wife prayed, and she said she prayed for like a mattress, like we were needing a mattress. And she was like, hey, Lord, if you can just provide. And, we ended up getting the mattress, and she talked to my, son. He's 6 years old. A true story.
Yeah.
And she said, Justice, you know, like I prayed for a mattress, and, you know, we got one. And he said at that moment, that he prayed for some puppies. Like, so right now we live in my mom's basement, and she has some dogs, and she is like adamant about not having puppies. Like, no puppies. I brought 2 dogs home. She was like, nuh-uh. And I was like, hey, listen, I got to bring these back. You know, that's okay. And sure enough, what's wild is that, the dog just had puppies. Like,
Get out of
and
here.
then my son, just that moment, you know, if I could capture that and bottle it up, you know, the connection with my wife and him, and just like, hey, like you watched it just happen. Yeah. You know, and it's
Like,
just a little thing, but yeah.
Man, that's a great story. Like, just seeing, and like you said, just to capture it and just to have it.
Sure.
And, I really love the cartoon Inside Out. Have you ever seen it?
Is that the one that got all the emotions, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it because it explains it so well for a kid, for a teenager, for an adult.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I got a bunch of emotions out there fighting each other, and which one's going to win, which one's going to prevail, kind of thing. But we talk about it all the time. That's a core memory, right?
Yeah.
So that to you is a core memory of when that light came on and stuff. So I bet you see a lot with, 6 kids. The newest one probably doesn't do
the
much.
twins. Yeah. We got a boy girl.
Oh, yeah, that's
so,
right.
yeah, Levi and Levy, and they're about
probably just lay around right now, don't
3
they?
months old. Yeah. You know, you just kind of hold
lazy.
them.
Yeah.
Kind of lazy. Yeah, they are lazy for sure.
What do the other kids think of the twins?
Oh, they love them.
The oldest one's used to it. They're like,
the oldest one, oh yeah, like
Here's
another
another
baby. Yeah, that's exactly right. He's like, listen,
like DJ Khaled.
That's right.
Another one.
I've done this before, you know.
Yeah.
But no, they are. They're just some sweet boys, and they love up on them. They want to feed them, and they, you know, like. Yeah, so, and right now too, they're getting a little more interactive. So they're looking up and smiling some. So there is some, like, you know, whenever they're
Some
first
emotions,
born, like, this thing is doing nothing.
Do something.
That's right. Yeah. It's like, hang on. You know, because I have a 2-year-old too, and so the boys are used to like being kind of rough with him, you know, and he can take it.
Yeah.
And so the first couple weeks we're like, hey, you know,
his eyes lit up like, oh yeah, I'm gonna throw him around.
That's right. Yeah, new toy.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Yeah,
So what does your wife work, or
she stays at home?
Yeah.
So she hasn't worked probably since our oldest. He's 10.
Yeah.
So,
and that's kind of like when we had our first one. That's when my wife kind of. I would never say she doesn't work, because it's a full-time job for sure. But
certainly,
when she started working for the man, we'll say that.
Yeah.
And then she just did like little side jobs, you know, while she was growing up. And then she got into waitressing loved it.
Sure.
It was just something that she got to talk to people and adult interactions, and then she'd come home, to the kid, and then we had the second one, and she kind of did the same thing with the waitressing, but now she's a worship leader, and she's an entrepreneur, and
that's awesome.
She's doing she got this bug, and it might have been both of us just working with each other and pushing each other. It's like, oh, you should really do this. You should really do this.
That's right.
So now she's a travel agent, a media marketer, a social media marketer, and she's doing all things. But so does your wife have any, what does she like to do other than have kids?
I mean, she's an athlete at heart, but she loves hiking and getting out, because being stay at home, and she homeschools too, right?
Yeah.
So she has multiple hats, but anything to get us out of that house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, listen.
So y'all go hiking and all that
so we'll
stuff
go
too?
up Jeffrey's Cliff, Hemlock Cliffs,
Okay.
pretty local. So we don't typically drive a long way, as you can imagine. The van gets kind of exciting.
Yeah, what do y'all drive?
We drive a Honda Odyssey. Yeah, it's out there. Yeah, so we got
Y'all gonna need a
car
big
seats. Transit probably.
Transit. Oh man.
Yeah, we'll be that family.
You don't even think about this when you start having kids. I got to up my vehicle game.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I got to buy a bus.
Yeah, yeah. She sends me some, and I'm like, no, we're not yet. So
We should find something.
Yeah.
I think we can just find a good friend of mine. He bought a Transit and he transformed it into his house. Do you know Andrew Emick? He works for Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay,
but he's from Hancock County. He's a physical trainer actually, and but because he travels so much, he can't really buy a house. So he bought this Transit and
smart.
And I mean, transformed it into a house. I'm it's better than my house now, what he's living in. So it's cool. Well, we'll come back. We'll talk more about it. You're listening to the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show on 90.3 WKWC.
Nehemiah 8:10. The joy of the Lord is my strength. This is the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show.
All right, welcome back in the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. I'm with Justin Merritt. If you missed the first two segments, shame on you, but you can download the podcast wherever you get podcasts, Apple, iHeart, Amazon, Spotify. Just search the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show and you will see it. It comes out on Saturday around noonish. So yeah, and enjoy it. But we're just talking about life and kids and everything that goes along with that.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Whitesville. So how'd you get to Owensboro?
I guess when I got married. So Lacey, my wife, she's from Philpott.
Okay.
And, you make that commute your whole life in high school. And I was just like, hey, let's just see what town looks like, you know? And so we actually bought a townhouse just right down the street, Chuck Gray Court, and the courtyard's right behind the Pizza Hut.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was our first house. Yeah.
All right.
And so that actually brought us to Owensboro. And then we just kind of,
Now,
stayed.
did you go to school,
I went to
college
Davis County. Oh, yeah. Davis
Yeah.
County. Yeah, I didn't go to Trinity. I went to Davis County Middle and then Davis County High. Yeah.
Where'd you go to college at?
Madisonville Community College.
Okay.
That's where I got physical therapy assistant certified, yeah.
So you drove from here to Madisonville.
Mm-hmm, I did. Yeah, I've been
You didn't want to do Owensboro. They didn't have that program?
They didn't have it. No, there's only the Vincennes and Madisonville are the ones that have it locally.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what Addie my daughter, she wants to get into something in the medical field. She's looking at ultrasound.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Maybe when our youngest daughter was born, maybe she saw it and she's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't know what her interest is. She don't like blood.
Yeah.
So she's like, that's kind of safe. And I mean, they make really good money. So I'm okay with that. So,
yeah. Well, therapy's good too. I mean,
if she might going through physical therapy, she might be something
it takes an injury. I mean, I'm telling you. Yeah.
Because I know that at first she was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go. And then after her first couple times, she's like, hey, when do I go back?
Yeah.
So
it ain't that bad.
She's
yeah.
in it now. So
yeah.
I just got to get her to do those exercises at night.
Yeah.
She's literally so busy. Like 7:30, she comes home, she gets in the shower, she does her homework, and she usually passes out doing her homework.
Yeah.
I'm like, gosh, you got to do
It's tough to work them in. I mean, it's like
we might start doing them in the morning.
Yeah. is whatever to make the compliance go up is kind of key.
Yeah.
That's what I've told patients. It's like, hey, whatever. If it's one every so often, like, hey, just get in that habit, because people aren't in the habit of like doing these things, and they come in and like, hey, we got to change your routine.
Yeah, but then you get older, and I sit on the couch and I just move my hand.
You go, you're getting to work in. Yeah.
So you worked at UPS. Well, you shadowed at UPS. That was like, did you really work it?
Yeah, no, I was a local sort soup for a couple of years. I loaded and unloaded the trucks at night. I was on, So I worked there 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a long time. And then you went into physical therapy right after. So that's the only 2 jobs you've ever had?
No. Oh, I've had some jobs, but so UPS was only part-time. And so I served at Red Lobster. And so that's actually where I reconnected with Lacey, my wife.
Okay.
Yeah. So
them biscuits.
Yeah.
Man,
Cheddar Bay biscuits. They'll get
biscuits
you.
are amazing, man.
Yeah. And so, but we went to high school together, and she was phenomenal at basketball. And, she had beat me 1-on-1, and I didn't think anything about her. She still brings it up.
There, right? You don't say that out loud.
Well, I know, but if you know my wife, I mean, no, like she's a
baller, huh?
Yeah, I mean, and that's like she had 2 ACLs, so each knee ACL tears, meniscus tears, and she's still like rock solid. Yeah.
What year did you graduate?
05.
05. Okay, yeah, you're a little bit younger than I am.
Yeah,
so I graduated in 99.
There you go. Well, I mean,
I'm in the 90s.
5 years,
It just sounds old when you say it now. Like,
well, 99.
Graduated in the 90s. Like, to the 70s, it was the 70s to us. Like, when
you're exactly
graduated
right.
in the 70s, like, oh my God.
You're exactly right.
You don't look that old.
That's right.
So I tell people I graduated in 99, they're like, you're that old? And I'm like, God, it's here. It's arrived.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I've had my experience in jobs. Like, I've done about everything.
Yeah.
About everything. It started out at bricklayer. It was a temp job right out of high school where I just literally had to put bricks on a conveyor belt all day.
Oh, really? So you didn't like lay the bricks?
No.
So
I
you
laid them on
like,
the conveyor belt from the ground, and then they went down the line there, and then they stacked them up, and it was the worst job I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
No, I take that back. It wasn't the worst job. It was just very like manual driven.
Mm-hmm. Like, high reps too.
That's where I get all my muscles from now. It's from that brick job.
Yeah.
Then I worked at Amico for about 2 weeks, and I'll tell you a story. So I was there, and I was 18-year-old kid working at Amico, and mom kicked me out of the house, said, you got to get a job.
Sure.
So I was going to OCTC, did I say it right? Allsboro Community College.
Yeah.
And I was going there during the day, and then I worked at Amico at night. And then I also worked at a gas station in the same time. MAPCO on 60 is where I worked. So I was just trying to earn money so I could pay for college.
Yeah.
And so I worked at Amico, and have you ever been to Amico? You know what they do? So they're like a plastic thing, and they make parts for cars, like the plastic parts. So you put in this little thing, you hit a button, and it smashes it down, and you got to pull it out and cut out all the extra and put it in a bin, right? Yeah. Pretty easy job. So I'm doing this, and people are starting to talk to me. I'm the young kid, and they're like, "Oh, where'd you go? Where'd you come from?" All this good stuff. Right. Well, I got invited to a wedding by a gentleman there. He was marrying a lady who worked there. Mm-hmm. I was like, "Well, that's cool." I was like, "When is it?" And they're like, "Right after we get off work. It's in the morning at like 8 in the morning."
Oh wow!
I'm like, "Okay, where's it at?" And he's like, "It's at our house." So I went. I was like, okay. Yeah. And they had like a breakfast spread, and they got married. And I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever been a part of.
Wow.
And it was just, I don't know. I was like looking around, like, these are not my people. Like this ain't who I hang out with. And so that was the last day I worked at that job. And I went back home. I was laying on the couch, and my mom was like, you need to get a job. If you're gonna live here, you gotta get a job.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. So she's like, load up in the car. So we go into town.
Yeah.
Which was Radcliffe, because I was in Brett County. And she pulls up to a recruiting office. And she's like, go in there and get an application. I'm like, I don't think that's how it works. Like, if I go in there, I'm leaving. Like, I'm joining. And she's like, you probably need it, And so I went in there, talked to the Army, and they show me this cool video about shooting rockets. And I was like, yeah. Let's do that.
Sound good, yeah.
I remember I called my dad, and I was like, hey, I'm going to join the Army. And he's lifetime Army, like 30 plus years. And I said, hey, I'm going to join the Army. He's like, I think you should join the Air Force. It'd be a lot easier on you. And I was like, screw you, I'm joining the Army, you know.
Right.
I joined, left about 2 weeks later, and
Look at that.
that was it. So I blame my mom for everything that I have wrong with me. And
Yeah. It's a good mom to push you.
yeah, no, she did. She pushed me right out the house and out the country because I went to Iraq about a couple of years after that. But no, it was good. I enjoyed it, and then I did the recruiting thing, which that was the worst job I ever had in my life.
Recruiting for the Army?
Oh, it was
Really?
horrible. I was in California, like hippies, and
Yeah.
they did not care for the military.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It was horrible.
It's
I
hard
smoked weed all the
territory.
time. Like I couldn't get anybody clean. I was like, this is
Yeah.
the worst job I've ever had in my life. And then so I got out of the Army and got into car sales, and
I got you.
I just fell in love with it, man. Just,
Yeah.
because now I could talk to people and sell them something and actually get paid for it.
Yeah.
Where as a recruiter, like I had to sell it, but I wasn't getting paid for it.
Right.
Like,
Well, and you had a product too.
Yeah, I
which
had a
helps,
product,
right?
and
Yeah.
I sold at Lithia Dodge, so Dodge trucks, and it was just at that time the Dodge trucks was probably the best diesel truck out there. So
Yeah.
it was they'd come into you. You wouldn't have to search for them. And
That's always nice.
it was just fun, like seeing the excitement in people's face when they purchase a new car, because it's a stressful situation
Sure.
when you're spending that much money, and just seeing them go through that stress and then come out and their eyes light up and they're so
Right.
proud of it. So I just like that feeling.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
like
it's
that feeling. And I mean, I did that I got out in 2007 and left the car business, and I sprinkled in some jobs. Like I worked at Verizon for a couple of years, but I always went back to car sales because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
I worked at Don Moore out here in 2020 was the last time I worked at a car dealership, and then
Well, I could see it'd probably be easy for you too, because you establish trust pretty quick. You know, and being genuine, and it's like a realtor. You know what I mean? It's the next biggest purchase you'll ever make, right?
Yeah.
And so to establish that early, and especially whenever clients are coming to you, it's like
it's gotta be quick.
it does really.
Yeah.
It's like no, I'm just working with Brian. Like he's done me good. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Then you get this reoccurring like
You
that
have
truck
30
you just
seconds. You have 30 seconds to know if you're going to get them, or like not even get them to sell them anything, but just
Right.
get their trust.
Yeah.
Like you can see it in their eyes, and
Sure.
And you're like, man, this ain't gonna work out.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
me go get somebody. And
Yeah.
let's try somebody else. But that was the chase of it. I think
Sure.
I miss that sometimes. The
Yeah.
chase of it, and
Yeah.
it kind of lights your fire a little bit when you have to work for your money, kind of thing. And
Sure.
it's exhausting. It's mentally exhausting.
Yeah.
Like I'd come home and just be beat, and my wife's like, "You didn't really do anything." And I was like, "I talked to like so many people. Like,
Right.
I'm just
Yeah.
spent. Like I don't want to talk to nobody right now." So.
It's like being a clinician, though. I mean, it's like, I got 40 minutes with 11 people, and it's by the end of the day, I'm like, my wife, she hadn't seen an adult all day, and like, she's like, "Hey, listen, I'm ready to talk to you." And I was like, "Well, just give me a minute." But, and so
you
that's
just stand right here and I'll just act like I'm at work.
right. Yeah. But no, that's,
so it was, I enjoyed it. And you had mentioned, we told them that you were going to share something. Mm-hmm. We were going to share your idea. Right?
Yeah.
So we'll get to that. I'm gonna lead us into this.
Okay.
So you talk about like doing your job, how many stories that you get from
constantly.
it. And there's so many stories from being like a car salesman. Like,
that's right.
Because when people put their trust and they just let down that wall, I mean, they share everything from their sister Mary Kate, like doing something she wasn't supposed to, and you're like, "Are you really telling me this right now?"
That's exactly
like,
right. Oh yeah,
I'm trying to sell you a car. I'm not trying to get to know your history, but they just tell you everything.
Yeah, they will.
And you're almost like a therapist, / bartender / like all these people that people just open their hearts to.
Sure.
So talk about your experience a little bit. Like,
okay. I mean, well, so when I felt that there was a need is I would have these interesting patients that, sometimes you just like probably in sales, you just link up with somebody and you can talk with them. You're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've known them for a long time.
Yeah.
And I would always say to these patients, and most of my patients are probably 60 plus, and I would say, hey, listen, I think you should write a book. I think, gosh, I just feel like, man, this would just be a great book.
Yeah.
You got these stories, but then I found that it's like, well, who's got time to write a book? Because all my patients would be like, listen, I'm never going to write a book. I know I won't. And I thought, man, what a great podcast to have is like to have your 60 plus or like your 70s, like, hey, come in and let's just create that book, because I was talking to Mom this morning, because I told her I was going to do a podcast, and I was like, hey, Mom, listen, I think you would, you'd be to be on the podcast, because I would want that for the boys, right? I'd want it for them, and I would enjoy that too for my brother and sister, just to see like, hey, your life, within that, I want to see the emotion. I want you to go back and tell me what it was like raising 3 kids and you got $25 a week, because that's a true story, and it's like, walk me through that, because that I feel like is when you can, because there's many people out there and families that have probably went through the same stuff. And it's just like, man, those are just,
my
good.
Mom, she's a single parent, had 4 kids.
Yeah.
Like, how'd you do it?
That's right. I mean, really.
Like, me and my wife have been together the whole time. We have 2 kids, and there's times we're like, how are we going to do this?
That's
like,
exactly, yes.
It's just so much. But she had 4 kids.
That's right.
She didn't have any parent or any help, so.
Right. Well, I had a patient that they had 5 boys. They had 5 boys before they even started their careers. One went back and she got her teaching degree, and the husband, the father, went back and got his law degree and became a judge within like having 5 kids. And I talked to them. I was like, listen, y'all need to do marriage counseling or something like that, because what y'all were able to accomplish is.
Could you imagine the schedules?
Oh man. It's amazing. And they were both smiling and just happy and like loving life. And I'm thinking, man, like the stories y'all could tell, Yeah. Yeah. So.
Man, I'm excited. Do you have a name for it? Like,
no, man. It's an idea. It's an idea right now.
We're going to push this idea. We're going to get it going.
My wife actually told me, she was like, no, this is the year for it. So you start, and I have probably 5 or 6 names that I've kind of went back to, and I was like, hey, are you okay if because I'm thinking about starting this. Would you be okay being on it? And they were like, oh yeah, Justin, that's fine. And I get pretty real with patients. I mean, it's the same with anybody. Like I want to know everything about it.
Yeah.
How did it feel? When you had your first kid, like, hey, what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts about the plans for
that's an episode in itself.
You see what I'm saying?
Felt.
I mean, really,
sure.
like, but with a podcast, you trying to capture that in like the smallest dose that you can, but still with the most potency.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man, because like those are I never even thought about it. Like those are the questions. Like I talk to my mom all the time. Like, hey, how was it? Because we were looking through pictures last Sunday. It's a true story. Looking through pictures, and I've seen these pictures all my life.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something about this last time I was looking at them, and I was looking at all of us and looking at the pictures. I'm like, we're all smiling.
Yeah.
Like every picture, we're smiling. Like we were having a good time.
Yeah.
And she's like, y'all had a good childhood. We didn't have everything. She didn't have the money.
Yeah.
But we never felt it. There was never a moment where we just felt, man, this sucks.
Right.
It's like always smiling. So I think you lose sight of that growing up. You get used to it. I know for me, I get used to tell people like, yeah, childhood sucked. I didn't have the name brand shoes, and we didn't go on trips and stuff. But then the truth comes out in the pictures, and Jamie Johnson has a perfect song in color. Like you should have seen it in color. Like you should have been there.
That's right. Yeah.
And if
That's
I could go back and
just
witness what I went through, it's like, man, what am I talking about? I had a great childhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I like you're going to miss this song too, because I always tell my wife, like in the midst of the chaos, it's like, hey, listen, this time, well,
we got 2 songs that, we're going to play. So.
Well, there you go.
There
well, and it's just, and it really rings home too, because even my 10-year-old, it's like, hey, I still have an image of him in the crib, and, I prayed for her, like, hey, like keep this image, because I want that. And I still have it. And it's like, and then I look up at him and he's 10 years old, and I'm like, hey, I know I'm going to get you a car soon. And like, it's like, I am going to miss it, and it's not even gone yet. Right. And so that perspective,
it's coming.
That's right.
You're talking about that image, and we'll wrap it up. But you talk about that first image, and the image you always keep is when Addie was born, and I had a little anxiety. I almost passed out while she was being born. So I wasn't in there when she was like out the chute. But I was like, had so much anxiety and the unknown. Like,
Sure.
I don't know what is going on. And then, like, I was peeking through the window and I kind of saw the doctors like catch her and put her on the table. I'm like, oh, she's born, and still
Right.
anxious. And they rolled her out right in front of me, and I seen her face and I saw me in her. And I was like, it just calmed.
Boom.
And I'm like, gosh, we
That's
made
it.
that.
Look at that. That's
Like,
right.
Like I've never felt so much love. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like,
No, you're right. You're right.
I've never felt so much love from one thing as I did when I saw my daughter for the first time. And I was like,
Yeah.
I love this thing.
Right.
Like, I don't even know what it does yet.
Sure.
And I love it.
Yeah.
And that's the best feeling, man. Like,
It is.
just capturing those moments and like, it's those core memories.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It
Those
is.
core memories. But
You're exactly right.
man, I appreciate you being on this show. Hopefully it wasn't too
sure.
weird for you. And
Yeah.
I like talking to you. We'll do this again for sure.
No, it was good. It was
Especially
good.
when
I
you get your
enjoyed it.
podcast going.
Oh, yeah.
We'll
That's
just go
it.
on. I
Yeah.
got stories. That I haven't
Oh
told.
my gosh, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, especially like I work with a guy that's I did. He's an Army guy, and it's like, man, like, and it's not even the stories of the Army, but the stories of the brotherhood that you create. I mean, that's
where
it.
the stories come
Dude,
from.
I mean, seriously, and it's
Yeah.
like not like
Like, honestly, like we went to Iraq. Like, I couldn't tell you
right.
the missions that we did.
Sure.
I mean, I could tell you, but I was like, yeah, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
let me tell you about what happened
That's-
before this mission.
That's right.
that had us all dying
those
laughing,
are the
you know?
stories. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of those. I have a bunch of those. Some I can't really tell on the radio, but
Sure.
I can on the podcast. So we can do like a special podcast version of it.
Yeah.
There's actually one on there I did a podcast and I invited a good friend of mine that I deployed with, Jason Silloway, and we started messing around inviting all the other people. I had 6 people on there at one time.
wow.
And we're just telling us, I mean, it was off the chain.
Yeah.
And some stuff we shouldn't have told, but we did anyways. And,
Sure.
Yeah, it's great. I'll tell you offline, but it was just a fun experience.
Yeah.
And I will never forget it. And I'm glad I captured it. I recorded it, audio,
that's
video,
right.
everything.
That's
so
right.
I'll always
That's a
have
page
it,
in the
so
book, I mean,
That's it.
That's really
but,
it.
Man, I appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Brian, for
Hopefully,
having me.
hopefully you had fun. And then, yeah, we'll see each other down the road.
All right.
God bless.
18 in, 8 years out. Signed that line without a doubt. 9/11 deployed to Iraq. Army greens and an old rucksack. Didn't know if I'd make it back. Birds to the ground, running to the hole I went. Months of surviving the hell I lived. Spent nights talking with the boys. We just reminisce. Mortar rounds lighting up the night sky, reminding me of back home on the 4th of July. I wonder if they know I saw a different show under Friday night lights. Third deployment to Afghanistan. Different country, same old band. Gun at the ready, strapped up the boots. Me and the boys learned a thing or two. Every day feels more like deja vu. Boots to the ground, running to the hole I went. Months to survive in the hell I lived. Spent nights talking with the boys. We just reminisce. Mortar rounds lighting up the night sky, reminding me of back home on the 4th of July. I wonder if they know I saw a different show to survive. Now that I'm home, that flag means more than you know. Under Friday night lights.
You've been listening to My Dad on the Forgiven Soldier Radio Show. The Forgiven Soldier Radio Show is a broadcast service of Veterans Empowered Together and 90.3 WKWC.